Hey everybody, welcome back to another news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. I don't know if you could tell by my voice, but I am fighting a little cold. So excuse me if there might not be any videos for maybe a day or two. Just dealing with a little cold. So just after this, I'm gonna just go to bed. But I just wanted to record this now, just because we got a ton of topics for today, and I kind of want to get through them while I still have some energy before I go to bed. So yeah, so we're gonna just go through these in a substantial manner, and yeah, so let's just dive right on in. So the first thing that we're going to discuss is revolving around Megalopolis once again. This probably will be the last story that we do on Megalopolis. It's been like our whipping boy on the news roundup videos. Um, there have been projections given for its box office, and it's due to be coming out this week. So, according to sources, namely The Hollywood Reporter, Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis will be gearing up for a terrible opening weekend in the domestic market, collecting potentially only $5 million against its $120 million budget. So, yeah. And in other news relating to the film, Francis Ford Coppola is suing Variety for its article, which included video footage of the quote unquote allegations of him kissing female extras on set, which is proven true by literally the video itself. Um, this lawsuit came 2 days after one of those extras who worked on Megalopolis filed a lawsuit against Francis Ford Coppola in Georgia for many things, including battery, assault, etc. And who knows how credible her claims are? I haven't looked into them. But the fact of the matter is that the kissing of female actresses or extras on set, that is definitely true, and there's video evidence to prove that. So, um, furthermore, in a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly, he openly admitted that the recent marketing failure in that latest trailer with all those like obnoxious quotes that were put into it, he finally admits that it was his fault. He states that he believed that those reviews that were used, which were pulled from an AI search apparently, he legitimately thought that those were actual bad reviews of his movies. And he didn't properly vet the material, he just pretty much just presumed otherwise. So I told you guys it was his fault. So I mean that the Lionsgate is just distributing it. They're not actively involved in it. So I mean they'll market it on, in that they're the distributor, but they're not doing their own money on the film, as far as I know. So, but need I say anything more about this? I mean, this is going to be a disaster. I mean, this is shaping up to be an incredible embarrassment for both the distributor and the filmmaker. And I doubt the foreign market, like any places like China or anywhere else, I doubt they're going to have much interest for this. So maybe like slightly more compared to the domestic market, but yeah, buckle up. This is going to be a big loss for Lionsgate and legitimately a killer for Coppola's career prospects after this. I mean, it is truly embarrassing. It's dead on arrival, and yes, like it's just an example of someone's tremendous ego and thinking that that is, you know, it's just no distributor in the here wanted it, so it's just yeah, it's just shaping up to be a very 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 embarrassing thing. And I would say I feel sorry for Lionsgate, but they're the ones who picked it up, so it's just yeah, it's just all around really embarrassing, and just kind of waiting for the train wreck to arrive, and it will be arriving this weekend. So I will be seeing it. Before I had no interest in seeing it, but I think up to this point, with discussing it at length, I feel it would be a disservice to not at least watch the film to get full circle on the potential disaster that this is. Who knows? Maybe I watch it and I enjoy it. We'll see. But that doesn't change what this journey has been, which is just lynched in just controversy, allegations, and now financial just embarrassment. So yeah, not good all around. And I'll be seeing the film, so we'll see how the film itself is. But financially, this is looking to be a disaster. So, and yes, he did do weird things on set. This is all to protect his film. That's why he's doing lawsuits and all that. And it's really disgusting. Really, really disgusting. So there you have that. All right, we have something to discuss revolving around Clint Eastwood. He has a new film coming out titled Juror Number 2. It's going to be having its world premiere on October 27th at the AFI Film Festival with a planned limited run following shortly after the festival premiere on November 1st. So we'll be having a limited release on November 1st, probably expanded out to December or January. The film is being directed by Clint Eastwood, while screenwriting is being held by Jonathan Abrams. Don't know if that's related to J.J. Abrams, not entirely sure, but the story is of a moral dilemma within one of the jury members, one of those jury members being played by Nicholas Hoult, as they, the jury pool, discuss their perspectives and decision of whether to convict or free the accused killer of the case that they are on jury duty for. So, essentially, it's Clint Eastwood's crack at 12 Angry Men. Down to the provided synopsis, it appears to be highly inspired by that specific courtroom drama. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is to acknowledge truly an incredible feat that has been achieved here with this specific film. Clint Eastwood currently is 94 years old. Really think about that. He is 94 years old, and he is still making films. The fact that anyone at his age is able to produce a piece of work, and that's not just being, like, that's not like insinuating anything, but you get what I'm saying. It's like at that stage at anyone's life, it's like to see them still working, and putting out content. It's a remarkable achievement in and of itself. I said it the same thing with Cry Macho, and I'm saying the same thing here. We'll see how the film itself goes, but bless him and his commitment to the craft. Really inspiring. I'm not religious personally, but it's a formal, it's a nice thing to say. And I believe it's safe to say that this will be his last film. And we'll see. We'll see how. I mean, hopefully the trailer wins me over, and hopefully then I'll go out and see it. But hats off to Clint Eastwood for still, at his age, putting out films. Truly, truly inspiring and really, really incredible. So yeah, comes out November 1st, and we will see hopefully a trailer soon of what his potential final film looks like. So we'll see then what it looks like. All right, let's get into some Planet of the Apes discussion. We talked about this briefly in my summer video, and I'm going to dedicate some time to this. So, according to an article published by The Hollywood Reporter, detailing some of the successes and failures of notable IPs, which I did also for a video a few days ago, the final box office numbers for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which had collected $397.3 million against its $160 million budget, are, quote, enough to move forward with the next two installments of the planned trilogy. Now, Disney has not yet commented or confirmed the news themselves, but it appears, according to the sources that Hollywood Reporter has gathered, or at least knows of, and Hollywood Reporter is, a pretty credible source, that it looks like Disney might be moving forward with Planet of the Apes 5 and 6. So, again, no official confirmation from the studio, but it appears that it might be the case. So seemingly confirmed, we'll just say. And I echo the same thing as I said in my summer video. This is not a justified investment if it turns out to be true. If it turns out to be true that they're making two more films, this is not a justified investment because Kingdom barely made a profit. I mean, it did make a profit, I guess, but it barely squeaked by. What's most important, or should be important when it comes to determining success, is the measure of said profit. In the case of Kingdom, it barely could justify a 2.5 ratio, which for a summer tentpole is not good, especially given the financial stakes in the current market. I mean, like if Kingdom went on to make 500 or 600 million, there's more room to argue its existence as an investment, right? Because at least they're, comparatively speaking, and in the season that it resides in, and again, in the financial dilemmas that are currently taking place right now in Hollywood, in the decline of people coming to the theater, if the film had pulled numbers like that, it would seem more justifiable, you know? But as it stands, it's incredibly risky. I think it's incredibly risky to be making more films. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually enjoyed Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I thought it was a good follow up from those three films, surprisingly so. And I would like to see more of that story take place, of course, but only when it is financially justified. Because as it stands, if those two films would come out, I highly doubt that they would be justifiable financially speaking. They would need like a ton of support from social media and online to make it outpace Kingdom. Because you look at receipts for the last film, War for the Planet of the Apes. That was largely lower compared to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which I presume was because of the timing of when that came out, social media, or at least just chattering. Like there was an appetite, in 2014 that perhaps Planet of the Apes was able to cover, whereas coming into this period now, with being in 2024, there's just a different appetite. And Planet of the Apes might not fit that mold, as evident in War for the Planet of the Apes, which was in 2017. So I wouldn't bet with Satisfactory. That's the best way to put it. Yes, Kingdom technically made a profit, but it is only like soft satisfaction. The way I described Transformers 1, it's like soft satisfaction, just barely squeaked by. I would bet more with success, which was what studios should do, and Kingdom is barely one of those. Narratively, like I said, I like to see more because Kingdom, I think, lays out a surprisingly solid foundation for what could lead, into that next film, whatever. But financially, it just did not earn it, and I don't think it's a good idea. I don't, but we'll see down the line when they confirm this news. But yeah, I'm a little surprised, honestly, that they're potentially doing the next two films because I just don't see where they see the trajectory. I don't see where they think that these films are gonna then all of a sudden generate more money. If you're starting off like this, it's gonna get lower, you know. Unless, like I said, you have like an effect on social media, but that's taking a big risk. So, you know, so I just don't think it's a risk worth taking, if you ask me. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if Disney confirms the story in a few days. But yeah, not worth it if you ask me. So, but alrighty, let's get into a couple of trailers that dropped this week. We have a couple, like four. So let's get into it. So the first one we're going to discuss is the official trailer, really the first trailer for The Apprentice. We talked about this a few news roundups ago. Them like starting up a Kickstarter campaign and trying to get people to watch their film, and the very limited theatrical run that's potentially going to be had with it because of the subject matter and Trump's campaign getting involved. So this stars Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump and Jeremy Strong, as well as Maria Bakalova, who I believe plays one of Donald Trump's previous wives. This being directed by Ali Abbasi, I believe that's how you say the person's name. Previous directorial credits include Border, which I'm not familiar with, and most recently Holy Spider, which we did review on this channel, and I wasn't entirely crazy about. But this has a release date of October 11th, so coming out pretty soon. And there are aspects to this I am surprised by, and others that I can expect. Um, to speak on the positive end, I can appreciate the restraint in its ensemble. It might be deception, maybe just by the trailer, the choice of footage that they're showing. But I appreciate what they showed in that restraint. The technicalities and the framework, I like the 4:3 ratio. I'm always a sucker for that stuff. Um, but as it moves along, it really pulls back the curtain and presents itself, artistically speaking, as a very ignorant and less encouraging study of its subject, you know, it's less concerned about studying its subject and more about targeting its subject. Because it's clearly got an agenda behind it, and that's not to do with the fact that it's based on a political figure and the current election that is happening right now. It's not with that. It's to do with the filmmaking, okay? I mean, it's just to do with yes, it is definitely it's deliberate in the release of the film, coming out before the election and all that, So of course there's an agenda by it. I'm just saying that it could have been about anybody. It's just that the optics, the framework, the storytelling at play, it absolutely has that type of motivation behind it. And it makes it to be pretty alienating and limiting on the understanding and the honesty of its depiction of its subject, because there's a lot of, information about Trump that is kind of scattershot, and some information that is frankly not true if you do your research. Like, it inserts doubt into the viewer on the authenticity of its story. And nothing says more than this being released close to the election day, and this trailer specifically releasing hours before the presidential debate that happened. So so it's clearly got an agenda behind it, and the Trump's campaign is involved with get interfering with the release of the film. So of course there's a whole thing behind it. But as it stands, I'm not very interested, but I appreciate some of the individual elements at play. Like I said, some of the restraints, some of the technicalities. Like, the best way I can put it is that it's the Wolf of Wall Street, but with Trump. And I'm not surprised by that being the framework. But thankfully, though, it doesn't lean too hard onto that style as far as the trailer presents. There's like some aspects there that I can enjoy that's, a little more restrained. So I'm not that crazy about it. I'm not interested to watch it. But, it's more interesting to talk about it in the context of how it's being released, not necessarily from what I saw in the trailer of the film itself. So there you have that. Okay, next trailer we're going to talk about is Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot is finally getting released because this was supposed to be released way back in 2022, and it looks like it's finally finding its way onto HBO Max, it seems, on October 3rd. The stars Lewis Pullman, Alfred Woodard, Bill Camp, Spencer Tret Clark, being written and directed by Gary Dauberman, who's close to the Conjuring series, but directed Annabelle Comes Home specifically. And, well, we finally got a trailer for the latest Stephen King adaptation. And it really started to devolve as more time was spent in watching the trailer. Like, it started out fairly average, and then it just manifested into something like more absurd and really lacking in personality. Much like the book and its subject, just to kind of use a play on words, a soul, so to speak, has been kind of sucked out. And like I said, it's been delayed many times over the years. It was supposed to be released way back in 2022. And now they're just dumping it on streaming. So clearly they're not confident in what they got. And it doesn't appear to be much of anything, really. I mean, I could notice that they're borrowing some techniques from the Conjuring series, like the camera moving back and forth into two separate frames, then bam, jump scare, you know. And I honestly couldn't tell if it was vampires. I thought the whole time it was like a possession sort of thing. So I had no idea that it was vampires until I looked it up. So yeah, pretty dull. Didn't really grab me, and yeah, I could kind of see why they dumped it. It just doesn't seem like much, really much of anything. It lacks a real appeal and a real interest, at least if you were to ask me. So all right. Next trailer. Let's talk about Small Things Like These. This is a indie piece being uh, starring Cillian Murphy and Emily Watson, being directed by Tim Malentz, who I'm not familiar with his any credits of his, but this is being released on November 8th here in the U.S. November 8th. And I gotta say, I'm intrigued. I appreciate the soft and quiet atmosphere that's at the center. There's kind of a lonesome quality that's intriguing, and really the prospects are fairly interesting, I will say. By how they're building things up. It seems like there's going to be a slow and informative pace, at least by design of the trailer. It just kind of seems like that sort of feeling is there. I do worry that the trailer may have given away a bit on the progression of the story, in that its thematic interest maybe had been unveiled a little too much, like a guy learning to value his own voice or the power of his voice, that sort of idea. I worry that might have been a little too revealing, but I also would have appreciated, honestly, if the story stayed general and not central, in that I would have been more compelled by a wandering type figure than a figure investigating a church, a church conspiracy, or, a church allegations, and perhaps that is exactly what the film is, and the trailer just is not, kind of, uh, not presenting it as such. Who knows? But I'm interested. I'll be on the lookout for this when it comes out, because it definitely looks interesting and definitely looks up my alley. So yeah, November 8th. Yeah, so I'll definitely be on the lookout for that. So. Alrighty, and the last trailer we're going to discuss for today, the big trailer for this week, is Mickey 17. This is Bong Joon-ho's next film, coming off, of course, of Parasite, which I really enjoyed, as well, of course, as many other films of his that are great. Mother, which I think is also great of his. Snowpiercer, Memories of Murder, which I have not seen, but I've heard great things about. But his latest is Mickey 17. This is starring Robert Pattinson, Stephen Young, Toni Collette, and Mark Ruffalo. So kind of a notable cast this time around. And by the way, that being released on January 31st, 2025. So, gotta say, I mean, I love Bong Joon-ho. I think he's one of cinema's strongest voices in the modern era. Um, that being said, this doesn't appear to be as alive in style or in social commentary. The things that Bong Joon-ho is always interweaves into his stories in quite extreme fashions, but at the same time very appropriate manners, and how he feeds that illustration to his audience. Like, this time around, it just seems like there's more of a concern for a visual presentation. I mean, while playing up a blatant strategical manner, because it seems more of a satire type this time around, with very obvious visual metaphors about labor and lower class citizens, and the value that they put on those lower class citizens, with the context of our Pattinson, playing multiple versions of himself. Like, it's not demonstrating more dimensions as I'd come to expect from this filmmaker. The air of the craft appears then, it's not as thick as it usually is. It's also telling, honestly, that because this has been delayed up to a year or so, and now it's being dumped onto January. Would you think for an auteur type feature with a recognizable cast, and we're talking Bong Joon Ho. I mean, this is the guy. I mean, I know Oscars don't matter, but it's like guy who just had a came off of Parasite, which won Best Picture, all the other stuff, blah blah blah. You would think that any company who has this guy underneath his you know underneath their belt, they would want to put that film out on a fall season or maybe a summer season, depending on the type of project that he's got lined up. Which, by the way, we're talking more than $100 million investment apparently, which may have equated based on delays and stuff like that. But the fact that this is coming out at the beginning of next year, right in the beginning of it, dumping it right at the beginning, tells me two things. One, they're not happy with it, and two, they're not confident it'll do good business. And when you read up on the production itself, the reason behind the delay, the fact of like, well, actor strike, which that's always an excuse, and other things, it gives more validity to that claim. So I'm curious. I mean, don't get me wrong, I will be checking it out. I am curious by the potential of Bong Joon-ho, but it sounds like there's been problems, and it just really doesn't appear to be much to me. Similar to my thoughts of Salem's Lot, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot here. Seems like they're trying to do a lot visually, but it doesn't seem like it's demonstrating a thematic heft or, a certain style. It just feels so mainstream, which is not what I want from Bong Joon-ho. So yeah, so I don't know. I'm a bit worried about this, especially with how they're releasing it. It doesn't signal confidence. So especially for $100 million type investment, you do not want to be dumping that on January. So yeah, so I'm worried. I believe the company is not confident in this. So in turn, I'm not super confident, but I will be checking it out. So we'll see. But I have my doubts based on what I saw and based on the strategy that's in place for its release. So yeah. So those are my thoughts for this week, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. A ton of trailers we talked about. Talked about Mickey 17. Talked about small things like these, The Apprentice. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below in regards to those trailers. Your thoughts on Clint Eastwood still kicking ass, making films left and right. Your Megalopolis about to take a huge nosedive. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And like I said, just a little under the weather. So if you don't see any videos after this for a little while, that's just, like I said, just have a little cold. So, but let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.